Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. I am Thanos 006. Marvel. I am Thanos Chapter 006. This white lady who looks like Anne Hathaway is very talkative, so that Gutn did not feel bored in the 6 hours of flying, and she also piqued Gutn's fantasy of flight attendants in her previous life. When flying in a previous life, flight attendants were superficially pro-real but cold existences, and it was very difficult for you to say more to these young ladies or ask for a WeChat or something. But reborn here, not only from ordinary people to Thanos, Peach Blossom luck seems to have increased. Last night with the Widow Sister's moving voice and graceful posture, so far people are endless. Now, Gutn has become the appearance of a yellow person in his previous life, and he can easily soak up a white flight attendant. Oh, no, it should be soaked. Sir, when we get to San Francisco in a moment, do you have time? Maybe we can have a drink. The white flight attendant took the initiative to invite. Gutn was a little embarrassed. Sorry, beauty, I still have very important things to do after getting off the plane. Quote. The white flight attendant continued to take the initiative and said, can I exchange calls with you? Or interconnect ins or Twitter? Quote. Gutn had just been reborn here, and there were no accounts on the phone or online social platforms, so he had to apologize. I'm really sorry, I didn't. Even so, the white lady still has a good attitude. After getting off the plane, it was already more than 9 o'clock in the evening. Gutn had seen Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2, and knew that Scott's daughter Cathy should live in a single-family villa in the San Francisco Bay Area, so he looked in that direction and quickly determined where Cathy lived after passers-by inquired. It seems that there are still advantages in fewer people, at least it is more convenient to inquire about the population. There are several living people nearby. What is the name? Each other is very clear. Gutn spent some money, also lived nearby, and became a neighbor with Cathy, originally thinking of approaching Cathy through the identity of a neighbor, but did not expect that for 2 days in a row, he did not see Cathy go out. This made Gutn very puzzled. Cathy should go out to eat even if she didn't go to school. According to information he received from neighbors, who said Cathy's parents were all dead, including Scott Lang and her mother's new police subject. On the third night, Gutn couldn't hold back, took a Martin guitar, walked to the door of Cathy's villa to play the piano. In his previous life, he was versatile, and it was not a problem to play and sing songs. After thinking about it, Gutn chose a 2003 English song, Dance with My Father, by Luther Vandross, which was written to remember his dead father, ideographic comma. Cathy and Scott have a deep father-daughter relationship, and now, she thinks that Scott is dead. She must miss Scott very much, and it is impossible not to be moved when she hears this song. You know, when Gutn heard this song in his previous life, even if his father was still alive, he cried after listening to it once. Holding the now priced limited edition Martin piano, sitting at the door of Cathy's villa, Gutn laughed at himself. Who would have thought that the famous Thanos would run to people's doors at night to play and sing with a guitar? The object is not the goddess of death, just an ordinary 16-year-old girl. Quote. Some people may think that Thanos should do earth-shattering things, but Gutn thinks that this is very good. Big people only show their hands on big scenes. There is no need to live so tired everywhere in life. Just like Thanos, after snapping his fingers, he did not enjoy the status of the overlord of the universe, but became an uncle farmer, boiling water and picking fruits every day. Taking a deep breath, Gutn began to play and sing. Back in my childhood, before life was far from innocence, my father lifted me up high. Let me know that I am deeply loved by my father, and if I have another chance, I will walk with my father again and dance with my father. Gutn's singing skills in his previous life were very good, coupled with Thanos's low and magnetic voice in this life. As soon as this English song spoke, Gutn moved himself, and the more he sang, the more he became more and more involved. Just after singing section A, the door of the villa opened, and under the moonlight, a young girl in the flower season appeared in front of Gutn. She's Cathy. Gutn just finished watching Avengers 4 inches before he was reborn, and naturally recognized the woman in front of him as Ant-Man's daughter, Cathy Lang. Cathy can be said to be the face of Avengers 4. In Avengers 4, the Widow Sister and the Scarlet Witch are already a little old, and Cathy is different. She is only 16 years old, young and beautiful, more attractive to Gutn. Gutn in his previous life was only 18 years old, which was about the same age as Cathy. Cathy was wearing a pink slip dress and stood at the door of the white room, and the wonderful figure made Gutn stunned for a moment. Gutn knows that the actress who plays Cathy is called Emma Foreman. In fact, in Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2, the children's version of Cathy has already made Gutn's heart itch. It is simply cute to burst, and it makes Gutn have the urge to have a daughter. Gutn did not stop, but pretended to ignore Cathy and continued to sing. My father would leave $1 at my bedside, but I never thought my father would leave me. If I could steal the last glimpse, the last dance, I would pick a song that has no ending. Hearing this, Cathy burst into tears, held her legs with her hands, squatted on the ground and cried. Gutn knew that he had impressed her with his singing, and the next step was to gain her trust. Marvel. I am Thanos 007. Marvel. I am Thanos. Chapter 007. After singing the song, Gutn stepped forward and handed Cathy a tissue, who took it and wiped her tears, then stood up and asked, "Did you also lose your father in that disaster?" Quote. Gutn couldn't help but glance at Cathy's delicate face a few more times, and said, "Not only my father, mother, but also my younger brother, all disappeared." Quote. After Cathy heard it, she whispered, "I'm just like you, my father and mother, all disappeared. You sing so well, this song reminds me of my father. By the way, I don't know your name." "My name is Cathy Lang." Quote. "My name is Gutn." Gutn stretched out his hand and shook Cathy. As soon as he touched Cathy's right hand, Gutn's heart pounded. Speaking of which, he had never been so excited to have a relationship with his widowed sister 2 days ago. Widow sister to young Gutn, after all, is an old woman, and Gutn in her previous life has not been in love much, so a pure 16-year-old girl like Cathy is more likely to attract Gutn than Black Widow. "I must chase Cathy." Gutn secretly said that whether it was for reasons close to Scott or personal thoughts, he wanted to have a further relationship with Cathy. But at this moment, 4 or 5 18 or 9-year-old young men suddenly walked not far away, and the white man at the head was not a good person at first glance, with a toothpick in his mouth, walking arrogantly, and said to Cathy, "Cathy, it's really difficult to see you go out once. Why are you crying? Do you think of your father? You don't have to be sad. There is no father, you still have me, I will take care of you." Quote. Saying that, the white young man wanted to reach out and touch Cathy's body. Cathy subconsciously took a step back, looked a little frightened, and said, "Cooper, I told you very clearly, I don't like you, please don't pester me in the future." Quote. The white man named Cooper smiled and said, "After Thanos snapped his fingers, more than half of the rest of the world are women. There are few men. I know I don't deserve you, but now it's not before. You don't have to pick. Miss, it's better to make do with me, ha ha ha." Quote. Hearing Cooper's words, the ancient genius suddenly realized, no wonder on the plane, the white flight attendant took the initiative to ask Gutn, and invited to drink, and asked for contact information. It turns out that there are now more women and fewer men on the earth, and the men are fragrant. "Even if there is only one man left in the world, I will not choose you." Cathy looked into Cooper's eyes with a look of anger. Gutn also immediately understood why Cathy had not gone out in the past 2 days. It turned out to be afraid of being harassed by this rogue. Just when Cooper wanted to reach out to Cathy again, Gutn grabbed Cooper's hand. "Damn, are you yellow-skinned boy looking for death? Let go of me, it hurts." Cooper screamed in pain on the spot. Even if Gutn only has the strength of Thanos Issei, dealing with such an ordinary person is as easy as stepping on an ant. Seeing Cooper screaming in pain, the younger brothers who followed behind him immediately ran up, ready to make a move on Gutn, some of them still holding knives in their hands. Gutn didn't disdain at all, grabbed Cooper with one hand, directly lifted him to the air, and then smashed on these 4 people, and several of them all fell to the ground in embarrassment. Thanos' power is too strong. Holding an adult with one hand is as easy as holding a cup, and this is still Thanos who has less combat power. Really want to know how powerful Thanos is at its peak? Quote. Cathy didn't know that Gutn was actually Thanos. She was very worried about Gutn's safety, and didn't want this stranger to be involved because of her own affairs, and quickly said, "Gutn, don't fight, it's very troublesome to get them in." Quote. Gutn smiled. For me, there is nothing under the sky that can be called troublesome. Quote. Just kidding, trouble is a word for ordinary people, how dare you provoke me, Thanos? At this time, the man named Cooper slowly got up from the ground, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and then took out a pistol from his pocket and sneered, arrogant boy, your trouble is coming. Quote. Cooper pointed his pistol at Gutn, and he was about to shoot. Don't. Cathy was so frightened that she quickly exclaimed. She knew that Cooper would definitely dare to shoot, because the world now is completely different from the world 5 years ago. There are already half fewer people, and the police force is also less, but the number of criminals is increasing year by year, and they are becoming more and more lawless. Gutn did not panic. A teleportation directly from 2 meters away, ran to Cooper, instantly took the pistol back, and then knocked him to the ground with a palm. Cathy and Cooper's little brothers were all stunned. They didn't expect Gutn's speed to be so fast. As a supervillain, Thanos has more than just strength, no speed and quick reaction ability. How can it be possible to pick 4 or 5 flying heroes without falling behind? Gutn broke the pistol abruptly in front of these little minions, and then said to them, go away, don't harass Cathy again, if I see you again, your fate will be the same as this SIG 226. Quote. After speaking, Gutn threw the pistol that was broken in half directly in their faces. Marvel. I am Thanos 008. Marvel. I am Thanos. Chapter 008. Gutn's domineering power made these white minions all tremble with fear, and they already knew very well that they were not Gutn's opponents. Cooper is no longer dead, but his face still reveals unwillingness, because he wants Cathy too much, and as far as he knows, Cathy has not talked about a boyfriend, a big beauty like Cathy, who doesn't want to be the first to pick the fruit. While retreating, he shouted at Gutn angrily, don't think that if you have more strength, you can be unseen in the Bay Area, there is a boss in the Bay Area. Unfortunately, you provoke the men of the Bay Area boss. Let's go. Quote. After shouting, several people quickly fled and left. Gutn looked at the back of several people in embarrassment, and couldn't help laughing. A small minions are a small minions, and if they can't do it, they love to scare people with other people's names. He is Thanos, not to mention the boss of the Bay Area, even if he is the boss of the Earth, in front of his brother, he has no status, right? After the little minions left, Cathy specially invited Gutn to her house for tea in order to thank Gutn for his help. Gutn was a little grateful to these little minions, at least they let Gutn perform a heroic rescue of beauty. This kind of plot, no matter how old-fashioned, girls will be moved. Entering Cathy's house, it was hard to believe that such a large house, but there were very few things inside. Now Cathy lived alone, and you could feel a trace of coldness from the furnishings in the house. Are you a **** person? I heard that you love tea, let me make you a cup of tea, right? Although Cathy is only 16 years old, her years of living alone have made her very independent. Okay, thanks. Gutn looked at Cathy, who was a little thin, and couldn't help but feel a little distressed. At this time, the system suddenly made a sound. Target person Cathy Lang detected. Identity. A member of the Young Avengers, nicknamed Ant-Woman. Character level. Grade B. If the host gets Cathy's like, he will get 3,000 points. Gutn was suddenly a little surprised. Cathy turned out to be a member of the Young Avengers. Is it already there, or will it happen in the future? It seems that this little girl is not as delicate as she thinks. Cathy, the little hostess, made tea for Gutn, and said with a grateful face, Gutn, thank you today, but since you are not from San Francisco, I advise you to leave here. Cooper didn't say big things. He really followed a very powerful boss, that person, not an ordinary person. Quote. Oh, not an ordinary person, who is that? Alien, mutants, are there mutants in this world? Gutn was a little curious. He crossed into the MCU movie universe, and the mutants have not joined here because of copyright issues. Cathy, as a figure in the MCU world, shook her head a little puzzled when she heard the word mutant. I haven't heard of mutants, but we have Inhumans here, are we talking about a kind of person? Quote. Of course, mutants and Inhumans are not the same type of people. Mutants are the legacy of the celestial god race, and only those who are born with X genes are considered mutants. The Inhumans, inhuman in English, were originally ordinary humans, but because of the transformation of Terrigen crystals, they obtained various superpowers. It turns out that there are Inhumans. Gutn pondered a little and asked, is that Bay Area boss that Cooper said is the Inhumans? Quote. Cathy shook her head. I don't know, I haven't seen that person. 5 years ago, I would occasionally see Inhumans like Daisy John on TV, but now, the TV doesn't broadcast these content, and many places are lawless, like today. Quote. Daisy John, I wonder if she disappeared. Gutn was naturally familiar with this famous, shockwave woman. Oh, let's watch TV for a while. Cathy turned on the TV and sat on the sofa with Gutn. Who knows, as soon as he sat down, the host on the TV said something that made the two very embarrassed. The host said, now the earth has less than half of the people, and most of the people we lose are fertile people, so today's young people, as long as you are over 14 years old, start to fall in love. If you reach the age of 16, listen to me, quickly have a baby with your boyfriend. Now is an extraordinary period. Governments are issuing policies, have to admit that there is now a shortage of labor in various industries. Quote. After Cathy heard it, her pretty face blushed. In fact, now the media and the government are guiding the current little girls, fall in love early and have children early. Such a populous country like is okay. Less than half and 600 million, the United States now has more than 100 million people, the Vatican now has 40 people. Cathy turned off the TV with the remote control and put her hands on the red dress on her thighs. It's so annoying, I'm an older leftover girl, if I don't fall in love again, will the government arrest me and go to jail? Quote. What, 16 years old as an older leftover girl? Gutn wondered if there was something wrong with his ears. The world is also so crazy that if you don't fall in love at the age of 16, you will become a leftover girl. Isn't the 30-year-old who is still single going to be shot? Gutn carefully stretched out his hand to Cathy's thigh, held her hand, and said, Cathy, now is an extraordinary time, there are less than half of the world's people, and there is an urgent need to increase the birth rate. I don't think you can be selfish anymore. Quote. Marvel. I am Thanos 009. Marvel. I am Thanos. Chapter 009. For the development of mankind, fall in love with me. For the future of mankind, follow me on Chuang. Gutn never thought that chasing a girl could use such a righteous reason. Holding Cathy's hand, Gutn turned his head sideways, ready to kiss Cathy. The two were getting closer and closer, but when they were about to kiss, Cathy suddenly let go of Gutn's hand, and ruffled his hair with a shy face. It's late. Quote. Sure enough, the girl who has not been in love is still relatively shy. After all, she has only known Gutn for less than half an hour, and kissing is indeed faster for her. Gutn was not in a hurry. After all, Scott would not come back for a while and a half, he had time. After separating, Gutn and Cathy made an appointment to go to the Golden Gate Bridge the next day to play, and early the next morning, Gutn appeared at Cathy's door with a large bouquet of roses. Cathy also paid special attention to today's date, wearing a Chanel red dress. Luxury is luxury, the earthlings are half less, the price is still so expensive. Cathy saved a long time to buy it, today is the first time to wear. The two drove the car left behind by Cathy's police dad to the Golden Gate Bridge, to the Fisherman's Wharf, and to San Francisco's Chinatown, playing all day and not returning until 10 p.m. However, unexpectedly, someone has been waiting in front of Cathy's door for a long time. Gutn and Cathy got out of the car, holding hands and talking and laughing, when they suddenly saw Cooper and the little minions from yesterday appear again. Looks like you guys had a good time today, Cathy. Even if there are half as many men on Earth, you won't be reduced to choosing a yellow-skinned man, right? Cooper was arrogant, as if yesterday's events had never happened. Gutn chuckled. He didn't expect that this guy would dare to come looking for something. Boy, have you forgotten what I said yesterday? Quote. Cooper took out a SIG 226 pistol that was broken in half from his pocket, which was exactly the one that Gutn broke yesterday, and said, of course, remember, you said that if we come to Cathy again, you will break us like breaking this pistol, but our boss said, your ability is simply not enough to see ah. Quote. Boss. Gutn learned from Cathy's mouth that Cooper's boss did not seem to be an ordinary person. Looking around again, I found a brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan parked on the side of the road. At this time, the window of the back seat of the car began to slowly fall, and on the back seat sat a white man, who did not look very old, but because it was night, he could not see his appearance clearly. Boss, it's time for this hillbilly to see your power. Quote. Cooper smiled proudly, and suddenly, he took out another intact SIG 226 pistol, but instead of shooting Gutn with it, he threw the pistol into the air. What is this for? Gutn was slightly startled. This pistol was not thrown into the Mercedes-Benz car, but straight up and down. That is, Cooper was not going to give the pistol to the Mercedes man in the back seat, it seemed to be just doing a show. At this time, the white man in the back seat was playing a game with his mobile phone. His eyes did not look at the pistol flying in the air, and as soon as he stretched out his hand at will, a fierce shining strong light actually burst out of his hand and shot directly at the pistol. This SIG 226 pistol instantly turned into powder. Oh my God, it's so powerful. Cathy was very alarmed when she saw it, just accompanied by that strong light. She obviously heard the sound of electricity. This person can actually control the current. Gutn also realized that a person could not generate electricity from his hands out of thin air. That is, the charge existed in the person's body, and every cell in his body carried a different charge. In addition, with the bright light just now, Gutn had already seen the appearance of the white man clearly. This man, he knows. It's Lincoln. This white man, Lincoln Campbell, is an inhuman who exists in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the ex-boyfriend of Shockwave woman, Daisy John. The characters of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. appear in this Marvel world, and Gutn is not surprised, because this drama, including Agent Carter, follows the timeline of the MCU, and actors, including Cardi, Nick Fury, Phil Coulson, Jarvis, etc. are all the same people as the actors in the MCU. What surprised Gutn was that Lincoln wasn't dead. In the finale of the third season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Lincoln and the founder of Hydra, Hive, ascended into space to self-detonate together. Can it be said that they did not die in space? Just when Gutn was curious, Lincoln, who was sitting in the back seat of the Mercedes, slowly spoke. That yellow man, I heard that you have a lot of strength, now kneel for me, worship me as the boss, I can let you join me and be my subordinate. Quote. Get on your knees, yellow-skinned guy. Quote. Ha ha ha, don't you dare to be arrogant anymore, right? The United States is not your wild territory. Quote. Gutn calmly walked to the Mercedes-Benz and asked, what if I say no? Quote. Lincoln stared into Gutn's eyes and said threateningly, die. Quote. At the moment when Lincoln said the word death, Gutn grabbed the door handle of the back seat, pulled the door of the back seat down abruptly, and then raised the door high above his head and slammed at the car. The whole car immediately collapsed, the tire burst instantly, and Lincoln also fell from the car due to the unstable center of gravity and fell in front of Gutn. Impartial, just in a kneeling position. Marvel. I am Thanos 010. Marvel. I am Thanos. Chapter 010. It looks like you're the one kneeling. Gutn was condescending, looking at Lincoln kneeling in front of him. Lincoln raised his head and looked hideous. You are looking for death. Quote. Just about to raise his hand to discharge Gutn, he was attacked by Gutn first. Gutn punched Lincoln in the face, and the Bay Area boss was pressed to the ground by Gutn and rubbed. Boss. Cooper and the others on the side were all panicked. In their eyes, Lincoln should have a fight even against the Avengers. Lincoln actually underestimated the opponent a little, and thought that he was just an ordinary person, but he didn't expect that before he could make a move, he was beaten by fat, and his nose was blue and his face was swollen. At this time, Lincoln slowly stepped back and distanced himself from Gutn. Very good, you successfully provoked me. Go to hell. Quote. Lincoln stretched out his hands and attacked Gutn with electricity. Moisture, moisture. The strong and dazzling electricity hit Gutn's body, and Gutn resisted it with his arm, because now his body is still very weak, and he can't hold it in the face of this electric attack. However, in the eyes of Lincoln and others, Gutn's ability to resist the current with his arm without any injuries was already very powerful. He can actually withstand the boss's current attack. Is this guy also an inhuman? Cooper looked horrified, because if it was an ordinary person, he would definitely not be able to withstand such a powerful electric attack. Damn, why is his body so strong? It can withstand my attack. Could it be that he is also an alien? Lincoln was also very surprised and continued to increase the force of the current. Lean. Although Gutn can resist Lincoln's attack with his arm, his current physical condition is limited to defense. He originally wanted to resist the electric attack while walking forward and killing Lincoln at close range, but found that under Lincoln's attack, Gutn was unable to move an inch. Cooper and others also found that Lincoln and Gutn, one is good at long-distance attacks, the other is good at close combat. As long as the two distances widened, Lincoln does not let Gutn get close, then Gutn can't help Lincoln. Good boss. He can't get close to you, and the boss continues to attack him. Cooper was cheering for the boss on the side, but he did not dare to participate in this immortal fight. Who the hell are you? Lincoln questioned Gutn while attacking. While resisting, Gutn replied, I am not a human, I am a god. Instead, I want to ask you, is it Lincoln or the Hive? Quote. Lincoln and the Hive flew into space together. Since Lincoln survived, the Hive may not be dead, and the Hive is good at the body of a sojourner, although he said that he only resides in the body of ordinary people, not aliens, but as a last resort, no one knows what he will do. Hearing Gutn's words, Lincoln stopped attacking. You know me. Of course I'm Lincoln. Quote. Gutn also put his arm down, and now his left arm is constantly bubbling with electric light. Fortunately, Thanos also has a certain self-healing ability. These pains are slowly eliminating, but Thanos' self-healing ability does not have the slightest effect on the injuries caused by the destruction of gems. Gutn. As far as I know, Lincoln is a good person and doesn't think about doing what the Bay Area boss says. Why do you do these bad things when the Earth is in the most chaotic time? Quote. Lincoln snorted coldly. Want to educate me? You beat me first. Quote. Saying that, Lincoln waved his hands again and fired at Gutn. Uncle Draft, this Pikachu is not finished. Gutn had to stretch out his arm again to resist. Lincoln saw that Gutn could only defend and could not attack, and couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha, how is it? You know how good I am, right? Can you take a step forward, come and hit me, can you come over? Quote. Gutn, indignant, endured the attack of electricity, and took a difficult step, but if he wanted to take the second step, he was a little powerless. Damn, if I can recover some of Thanos' strength, I can face the attack of electricity. Gutn was secretly a little distressed. The strength of this group of Inhumans should not be underestimated, and the Shockwave Woman can also destroy the Earth. Stop. Don't fight anymore. Seeing this, Cathy shouted. Lincoln was also a little tired and temporarily stopped attacking. How is it? Not convinced. Quote. Gutn clenched his fists and wanted to beat Lincoln violently, but he knew that once he took a step, Lincoln would continue to attack immediately, and at that time, Gutn still couldn't approach him under the attack of electricity. As long as I recover a little, even a little strength, I can defeat Lincoln. Gutn suddenly thought that he could get 3,000 points on Cathy, and 3,000 points was enough to buy some recovery medicine from the system. Gutn, are you all right? I'm sorry, but I hurt you. Cathy put her hands on Gutn's lightning left arm, looking very distressed and guilty. Gutn grabbed Cathy's hands and said, do you want to help me? Quote. Cathy nodded. What can I do for you? Quote. Gutn, kiss me. Quote. Cathy was stunned for a moment, thinking she had misheard. Perhaps, he wants me to give him strength. Cathy bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, and then took the initiative to kiss Gutn. Please like and subscribe.